Friends in the Corner podcast. Stories and topics from around the state of Kentucky. Welcome to Friends in the Corner podcast, stories and topics from around the state of Kentucky. I'm your host, Dan Pauly, coming to you from my quarantine headquarters in Lexington, Kentucky. And we hope that all of you who are listening today are staying healthy, staying safe during these difficult times we find ourselves in. And I want to say thank you for tuning into our show. I hope that we can provide just a little break from everything going on in the world here today for you guys. And we've got another awesome guest on the show here today. We're going to be talking with pro wrestler Superior Tony Evans. Tony is a wrestler from Bowling Green, Kentucky, who's worked with a number of different promotions all around the state, including PTW, who we've talked about on the show here before. But he's best known for his work with the World Wrestling Alliance out of Central City, Kentucky. So Tony's going to talk to us a lot about his wrestling career and what got him started in the business, and he's even going to tell us a little bit about how the quarantines have impacted the wrestling scene around Kentucky as well. So we'll get ready to dive into our talk with Tony here in just a minute, but before we do that, I want to tell you guys about how you can help to support our show for the future to come. Friends in the Corner podcast is supported by listeners like you. So after you're done listening to today's episode and you like what you hear, and you want to help to continue to create content like what you're hearing here today, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/FITC podcast to hear about the different tiers you can help to support us in. Join the likes of Tyler Witt, Trevino Woods, and Sydney Klinkenbeard who are helping to continue the momentum of this show going forward. Check us out at patreon.com/FITC podcast. And now let's go ahead and jump right into our show. Ladies and gentlemen, the Superior Tony Evans. Here we go. All right. Well, we've got another special guest here at Friends in the Corner podcast, weighing in at 200 pounds. The man that is bigger than your boyfriend, prettier than your girlfriend, Superior Tony Evans. Tony, how are we doing tonight, my friend?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Good, man. Good. Hey, happy to have you on our show here. Good to talk to you about a few different things, talk to you a little about your wrestling career as well. I've been kind of following you online for the last couple of years. It's kind of funny. A long time ago when I first got my show started, one of my very first guests I had on was a gentleman named DJ Otis Badass out of from Primetime Wrestling out of Paris, Kentucky. And since then, I've been following PTW, and one day I was scrolling through my Facebook feed and I followed PTW on there and some promos of yours popped up. I showed them to my fiance and she said, I went to college with that guy. And very fun just to kind of talk to you a little bit more, follow you a little bit more and get things started, man. So really happy to have you on, talk a little bit about your career. So for my listeners, can you tell them a little bit about who you are and where you're from?
Well, yeah, with that intro, I'm going to go ahead and say since this coronavirus stuff and nobody getting to go to the gym and, you know, I've just been eating a lot. That 200 it's a little low now, but
man,
it's getting up there. But no, I'm from a small town in Kentucky, Irvington, Kentucky. You know, 25, about to be 26. Fell in love with wrestling when I was really little. Used to watch it with my dad and my papa. You know, I've always wanted to do it, and I finally got a shot a few years back, about 4.5 years now, and never stopped ever since.
So is that what kind of inspired you to first get into wrestling, was growing up watching different stuff?
Yeah. You know, I grew up, like, my childhood was the Monday Night Wars and, you know, flipping back and forth between each channel. Mm-hmm. I don't remember a lot of WCW at the time. I've gone back and watched, of course, but, you know, I was always a big WWE guy, you know, back then. But the reason I do what I do is because I fell in love with watching guys like Steve Austin, Undertaker, The Rock. I mean, Austin's always been my number one. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you kind of get a little bit of heat with mentioning the Benoits, you know, Eddies, Jerichos, all of them. I've always loved them.
Yeah, well, I kind of grew up in a similar era. I watched the tail end of the Monday Night Wars. And then I grew up really loving Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit too. So very awesome to see. So these were kind of the guys that got you into it. When did that dime kind of turn for you to thinking, man, maybe this is something I want to get into?
I'd always wanted to do it. I was the youngest one of the family, so I was always picked on, just by the older cousins, not really just bullied or anything. Just, I was the punching bag growing up, and, eventually I started hitting back, and I was like, hey, maybe I can do this. No, I got an opportunity from a guy I worked with, probably my second or third year of college. And he had just mentioned that he had wrestled, and he had wrestled for WWA, World Wrestling Alliance, where I started. Of course, I was doing drumline back at the time at Western, and I didn't really have a lot of my Saturdays open. But he finally lined one up to bring me in, and he said, I'll let you bump around, test the ropes out a little bit, and it'll be fun. That's all I expected. I didn't know that I was going to go there and then take a few bumps. The promoter was going to come out and ask me if I've ever been in a ring before, and then call me a liar when I said no. It's just something that I felt came naturally to me. I mean, you always got to kind of hang your head low and stay humble with that. But like I took it and I just started running with it,
So how long have you been wrestling for now?
Just barely over 4 years. I had my tryout in October of 2015.
Man.
Yeah. So just over 4 years.
Awesome, man. And you mentioned that you started with WWA World Wrestling Alliance. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I follow them on Twitter too. I'm always a part of their fun Twitter blast every couple months when they have a new show coming out, which is awesome. But who is it that you trained with out there?
Well, I mean, it's a bunch of the guys. I came up in the class with, if anybody knows any of those guys, Tyler Hawkins, Prince Vanderpool. Those were the two mainstays when I was there, and then the newer ones started to kind of funnel in and kind of mix in with us. But those were my original two that I had trained with. The guys that had taught me a lot there were, of course, Ray Waddell, who is the brother to Chris Waddell, the promoter. I learned more in the ring with Chris than from Chris, I guess, like in training. Like I learned more working with him than I did, being trained by him. But I mean, he's got a lot of hats he has to wear, and he's really busy. But yeah, like Ray Waddell, Teddy King was one of my closest friends at one time. I learned so much from him. Like I really gravitated to him in the beginning, but and again, with like working with and learning, I can't put Ray over enough. We've been really good friends, bitter rivals, anything like that. The guy's just been nothing but great to me. Some of the other guys there, Alexander Knight, Josiah, a lot of those guys had a big part in my training.
So it sounds kind of like a family atmosphere that's kind of helped to bring you up a little bit and kind of show you the ropes, for lack of better words.
Oh, absolutely. That was my first wrestling family.
Where is WWA based out of?
They're based out of Central City, Kentucky, mostly a Kentucky-run place. Mm-hmm. They do travel a little bit. They run Central City, Livermore, Owensboro. They go up to Evansville in Indiana. They run there. They run Paducah. They've run shows in Providence. There's another town that I didn't like to go to. I don't remember what it's called, but I think it was just like a Seabury. Most of these were like fair or festival shows and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
The little towns that I just didn't like to. It was just way out there,
Yeah, you're driving. You're like, when do we get off the highway here?
Yeah, like when did the banjo start playing? Like, get me the hell out of here.
Dun, 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 dun. I've watched a few. I guess Hysteria is kind of their, version of Raw. Is it right? That's kind of their main show.
Yeah.
I've watched a couple episodes with you on them on the YouTube channel. If anyone wants to go check out any of their shows, go to WWA's YouTube channel. I've seen you guys have had some big name wrestlers come through there too, like famous Dick wrestler Joey Ryan came through there a few times, right?
Yes, I have worked the Dick Man.
Did you get dick flipped?
Me along with 3 others at the same time. Yeah.
Oh
That
my
thing is
God.
powerful, let me tell you.
But yeah, what other big name wrestlers has come out of WWE besides Jerry Ryan? Have you guys had anybody else come through there?
Oh God. I've shared the locker room there with so many guys that I grew up watching. I mean, I couldn't even name them all really. Rhino, Abyss, Eric Young, Tommy Dreamer, Raven, Sabu, Sandman. I mean, the list just goes on. And even the one that the people that know are going to laugh, I worked Gangrel very, very early in my career.
Really? The
And
Brood, man.
I have never wanted to get out of a ring so bad in my life. I was way too green. That is a dark time.
Well, yeah. Well, and you've kind of mentioned you're still a little, I guess you could say still fairly young, 4 years. I don't know how long it takes really people to get the gears going, but kind of sounds like WWA has really kind of raised you up. And I know recently, weren't you their world champion for a bit?
Yeah, I just finished up my second run in December as their champion. I'd won the mid card title, their national title. I had won their hardcore belt, their Kentucky Classic belt. I think that's all I've had there. But yeah, I had 2 runs on top, about a year apart. And I just had a blast, learned a lot.
Besides WWA, I know you've also worked for PTW a little bit. We can talk a little bit about them, but what are some other promotions around Kentucky you've worked with?
I've worked with AWA New South down in Franklin a little bit more lately.
Mm-hmm. Franklin, Kentucky?
Around in Kentucky.
Really?
What is that? Oh, yeah, Franklin, Kentucky. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they had wrestling down there. That's where my fiance is from.
Yeah. I was down there pretty recently too. Actually, the day that they called wrestling off in Kentucky, I was supposed to go to a show down there that Friday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was packing my bag and then the announcement.
How did you get connected with PTW in Paris?
Good buddy of mine that's also from Bowling Green. That's where I'm living now. Ever since I went to Western, I just kind of stayed and never left. Derek Neal. He had been coming up and, working for Larry and Max and all them up at PTW. And he let me jump in the car with him one day. And, after a few weeks consistently of being up there, Larry decided to give me a shot and let me earn my keep there. And they're big on, make it to where we can't not book you. That was said in a meeting not too long ago with them. And I feel like I'm either at the point or just on the cusp of the point to where like they can't not book me.
Are you there every Sunday?
Yeah, every Sunday we're running. Yeah.
Awesome.
Since the Corona thing hit, nobody can do anything.
Yeah, and that's definitely something I wanted to ask you about too. So, I work in the bourbon industry. I'm a bourbon tour guide. Obviously, we've been shut down for the last couple of weeks, and a lot of other industries have been impacted from what's been going on with the coronavirus outbreak. So, could you kind of shed us a little light? What's been the impact on the wrestling industry for you personally, or for some of the wrestlers that you've worked with?
And people do this not at the sign level. Like people do this on the independent level, and that's all they do. This is their income. There's people out there just like throwing the links to their merch and everything out just to try and get some sort of income. This is everything to them. I mean, it's everything to me, but like I have a shoot job. This is their shoot job. And it's taken away. We can't do it right now. So it's just hard. It's tough on the industry. It's tough on all the guys doing it. No access to gyms. You have to do the at-home workout. For some people, that doesn't really work. I hate at-home workouts, and I'm a personal trainer, and I hate it. But, sometimes you just got to push through, and then there's some guys that just aren't going to the gym, aren't really getting active. It's going to take a toll on their bodies. It's going to take a toll on their physique, anything that they've worked for, it's gone. And we don't know how long this stuff's going to go. It's advertised in Kentucky until after April 4th. But realistically, I don't see, shows happening until well into the middle of May.
Just the way everything's been going, man. It's a very questionable time right now, and no one really knows what's going to happen. I know I'm kind of sitting and waiting for my opportunity to return to work and do our stuff. And like you kind of hit on, this is a lot of people's livelihoods. I mean, I've got friends in the music industry, and they get paid by the gig, and they can't go out.
Same exact thing.
So, I mean, it's a very uncertain time right now. But kind of in these times, what's the best way to support wrestlers in this time?
There's all sorts of links out there for guys that you can buy their merch, shirts, pictures, DVDs, anything with their likeness on it, go for it 100%, buy their stuff. There's guys with books out, like Tracy Smothers just came out with a new book. If you don't buy this, everybody dies, just buy their stuff. There's a lot of streams. Some of them are paid, some of them are not. But, anything you can do to watch and support and share, that's really what a lot of guys I see are pushing now.
Do you have a merch link that you want to plug right now?
I don't really have a link online. I'm working on getting that. I'm kind of behind the curve. But I do have my Superior shirts, just the black shirt with white writing, the one I wear out to the ring every night. And that's I take them with me everywhere I go. So, if you see me with them, by all means buy one. But, I'm not going to shove my stuff down your throat or anything like that. But I'm going to try and get a link set up pretty soon, because I'm kind of behind on that.
Well, definitely after this pandemic, we definitely encourage my listeners to go check out Tony and all the other wrestlers at WWA, PTW, or any of the other indies to go and support pro wrestling and go support those guys, especially since a lot of them, this is their livelihood at stake for a lot of this. But yeah, man, wanted to talk to you a little bit about, we talked a little bit about some of your inspiration growing up as well, for what got you into wrestling. You talked about the Monday Night Wars and WCW and the guys you watched, Stone Cold, which is kind of funny. When I was watching you, I was trying to figure out who you remind me of, and I do see a little taste of Stone Cold in you, which is really awesome. I was telling someone the other day.
I usually get the Stunning Steve, because just the hair and everything. And
yeah, the Stunning Steve Austin. Yeah, that kind of hits you right on. So, and you kind of talked about these different guys that were inspired to you, but so it seems like Stone Cold's probably your biggest influence that you had on your the character you've created, right?
I put a lot of elements of pretty much anyone in there, anyone that I grew up watching that, I see and I'm like, hey, that was good. That was cool. That resonates with me. So like, I'll put things of those, but I mean, really they say if you can find yourself and just turn it up a little bit, like I'm a natural heel in life. There's baby faces, there's heels in wrestling. I'm a natural heel in life. I'm not as overboard as Tony Evans is, but I know when to turn it on, when not to. Like that, it's me. It's just I can say and do whatever I want out there, within reason.
So where'd you come up with the term of Superior Tony Evans?
I don't really remember. I was doing this gimmick when I first started. I was a personal trainer. I came out with a whistle. I rode a fat guy out to the ring. Still heel.
Were you Simon Dean?
Basically, but so much worse. It was the absolute hits. I had this fanny pack that I kept my whistle in. I'd wear that out too. I had these red trunks with a white, like 80s style exercise thong. That was the idea sewn on it, but it came out looking just like a big lifeguard with a diaper on. It was terrible. The name, Dirty Dick Driver. That was the beginning. Humble beginnings.
Is there any footage of Dirty Dick Driver still on YouTube somewhere?
God, I wish there wasn't. But, I'll plug them. WWA is now. YouTube.com/WWA is now. You can look back far enough, you will find it.
Oh, my gosh. So when did
I would ride him out to the ring like on his back. It was terrible.
So when did the
Get somebody in a figure four and make him jump up and do setups with me? Yeah.
Well, when did the transition from this guy to Tony Evans happen?
I figured out I didn't want to be Dirty Dick for the rest of my life. I knew that it wasn't, the greatest thing, but it was foot in the door. It was experience. I wanted to take myself a little more serious. I didn't want to go out there and train this guy while I was, working a match. I wanted to be a serious contender. I wanted to win titles. I wanted to travel. I didn't see that going anywhere really. I decided to get serious and use my real first name, just, Tony. And I was like, well, I don't want to be Tony Frank because that's the shoot name. It just didn't really have a good ring to it. So I was like, well, what the hell? Why not? Tony Evans. Now, what do I use with that? Because I felt like I needed something, some kind of moniker. So I don't know. I was like, well, I can go the crazy route. I can do the better than you route. And I was like, well, I'm kind of just like a natural dick anyways. So what's more dickish than I'm better than you? Superior. There we go. Superior Tony Evans.
Do you feel that MJF stole your gimmick at all?
No. He does it so much better. Dude, he's one of the best. Like the picture of him flipping off that kid that everybody's losing their mind about. It's so good.
I think he's the most fun wrestler I've seen in a while now. He's kind of the guy that got me back into wrestling. I was like, this guy's such an asshole. I love him.
Yes. It's like one of the best like natural heels going on right now. You've got Jake Roberts that just made us come back, one of the, if not the greatest heel, but like he's the greatest storyteller. But yeah. MJF is just such a good just heel.
Oh, I love he's so committed to it too. Like if you ever seen him there's pictures of him at signings. He's eating food while people just take their picture with him. He's making money off of that. This Twitter is amazing. Yeah. So I was thinking about.
I saw he tweeted out today. Everybody's losing their mind about the Tiger King guy. And he just tweeted out, "I hate Tiger King." Like how much more of a heel.
Well, when he pissed off the entire D&D community was hilarious too, and that got national attention. I was like, this guy's amazing. Well, Tony, it's very cool to see how you've brought this character into being, to have a pretty successful recognition on the Kentucky independent circuit. Really awesome to see all these different promotions you've had the opportunity to work with around our state and outside of it as well. And I want to scratch your brain even a little bit more on that, about what the Kentucky independent wrestling scene is like, before the coronavirus. How big is it? Is the Kentucky wrestling scene starting to get some attention? Love to talk to you a little bit more about that. But before I do that, I just want to take a second to talk to my listeners for the podcast as well, to ask them, have you started following our show yet on social media? If you haven't, what are you doing? If you want to keep up to date with everything we have coming on for the show, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at FITC Podcast. That's FITC Podcast. There is where you're going to be able to learn about all the awesome content we have coming out. You can learn about all the amazing interviews and stories we're going to be sharing on here from the likes of Tony Evans, Brett Butzer, Tony Menachella, or Kendrick Lawson, and the many more we're going to have coming onto the show as the year continues. So check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at FITC Podcast. Find out how you can financially support the show at patreon.com/FITC Podcast. And always feel free to reach out to me at my Gmail account, friendsinthecorner@gmail.com. That's friendsinthecorner, all together lowercase, at gmail.com. And now, back to the interview. So, really cool to see that you're trying to hone this heel persona that's been getting you a lot of attention, and especially love watching your matches, just kind of seeing how you live that out and where this character has kind of come from. But what would you say is the state of the outside of the coronavirus right now, what would you say the state of the indie circuit in Kentucky is like right now? Do you feel like it's pretty strong? Do you feel like there's a lot of fans coming out? There's some good wrestling going on, or do you think there's still room for improvement, or where do you kind of see things going for the Kentucky indie scene?
Well, when I talk about before the Corona stuff hit, before that, everything was growing. Everybody was working their ass off. You look all around and you see all these guys being built up and just like bringing companies with them, just building them up. Larry D just got signed to Impact. Like, he's been working his ass off to get that. And like, to see him do that, like, I've been under his learning tree for a little bit lately. And it's really gratifying to see that happen for him, but you also have to take into account this coronavirus stuff with everything being shut down. I feel like there's going to be sort of a reset that goes on. Not in the sense of like, everybody starts from square one, but it's like everybody was, building all this stuff up and, getting all this exposure, getting all this opportunity. But now with everything starting back, everybody's going for all those spots because, there's not a, hey, this company's ahead of me right now. We're all starting at the same time again, so I don't know exactly where the scene is going, but I think everything's going to be on fire. I don't know if it's going to be oversaturation or if it's going to be just right to where everyone's competing again, just straight out of the gate. I don't know. I'm excited to see it, and I'm excited to get in a ring and just, work in front of a crowd again. That's what I miss the most, and a lot of the guys that do this miss the most, just being in front of the crowd, that interaction. I cannot wait to verbally abuse some little, just fat woman that I see in the crowd just because I can. I love it.
Spoken like a true heel. So I mean,
that's women and the kids. That's the easiest thing to go after.
Oh man, the kids.
Oh yeah.
What's the meanest thing you've said to a fan before?
Well, I guess my very first night when I was debuting as Dirty Dick, I come out and cut a promo. There was this old lady, and she was yelling at me, and they use word association, they just go with it. She kept calling me a dirty asshole, and she was like, "You probably can't even wipe your own ass." There's the word association. They just go with it. She's like, "You probably can't even wipe your own ass, you dirty asshole." And I said, "I can't wipe my own ass." And she said, "Yeah, you dirty asshole." And I said, "That's why I look like this, and you look like a sack of shit." That was a good one that popped the crowd. I've made some kid cry before 2 or 3 times. I don't know. It's really just come into like a pissing contest, and me really just growing up and realizing that, hey, you can say this here, you can say this here, but you can't really say this here or anywhere. Just figuring out what language I can use, and it was my first night. I didn't know what I was doing, but I mean, I flew off the handle and said some outlandish stuff, but some of it I don't really want to repeat on camera here, but
Well, I'm glad you hopefully like me so far. You haven't shared any of your thoughts yet, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I ain't gonna light you up on a promo or nothing.
I appreciate it. But yeah, I think something you hit on that's been really cool lately is that we've kind of seen here in Kentucky, for those who don't follow the kind of Kentucky circuit with pro wrestling, is that there has been a lot of movement with guys getting opportunities. Like you mentioned, Larry D, who's based out of PTW. He's signed to Impact Wrestling, which is one of the top companies in the world right now outside WWE. And then you have guys like Ricochet, who's from Western Kentucky, and he's a main eventer on WWE right now. And, guys from this area starting to get recognized. So it's really cool to kind of see, Kentucky starting to make a push in the wrestling scene as a place to be, a place to train, a place to grow for right now, which is awesome. Hopefully it'll be that way after all this pandemic is over as well.
Yeah, I hope it's expanding from, mostly the stuff that would get noticed was like the Midwest stuff for a while. I don't know if it was just the style or the exposure, but it was all guys from there. And if, everybody from Kentucky was really overlooked. So
Well,
like, you can go down to Tennessee and get noticed, but a lot of stuff was just really overlooked for a while.
and it's kind of interesting because at one point this was kind of like, I felt like Kentucky was kind of training mecca. I mean, OVW is based out here, and for those who don't know about OVW in Louisville, that was the training grounds. That was pre NXT for WWE. That's where Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk all kind of trained through to eventually come up their spot. So I thought things would kind of grow out of the OVW connection, but some things go through waves, unfortunately.
Al Snow just picked up OVW not too recently, but he's kind of building it back up using the collar and elbow brand and everything. Like, they're doing really well for themselves. So I got some of my friends that are going there, that are getting noticed, that are, getting on WWE's radar, if nothing else, and a lot of guys going to the Impact shows from there. They're doing well for themselves again.
That's good. That's awesome to hear. And I know one thing we've kind of talked about a lot on this episode, especially, is you talked about how you were a WWF, WWE guy growing up, Stone Cold The Rock. And I know if you would have asked wrestlers probably 10 years ago what their goal was, is they wanted to go to the WWE. Yeah, that many of them probably thought, I want to go to the WWE, main event WrestleMania. But then over the last couple of years, things have kind of changed up a little bit. We've had AEW come into being, which has made a splash. Other organizations like New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact have started to grow a lot more too. So a lot more opportunities have kind of expanded, it seems, in wrestling than there were maybe even 5 years ago. So for you, Tony, do you have a goal, like as far as where you want to take your wrestling career? Do you want to go to WWE? Do you want to go somewhere else, or where are you hoping to take your career at this point?
End goal, yes, WWE all day. But I really like to travel. I'd like to get up into Canada. I'd like to eventually go down to Mexico. Everybody wants to go to Japan. Just really test myself there. I mean, eventually, I've got a lot of growing to do. I'm nowhere near ready for all that. But you learn as you go. But yeah, anywhere you can really just get noticed. That's really where I want to go. I'm not in this for the superstardom, not all that. It's what I love to do. In goal WWE, but I'd like to get down with NWA on Power. I'd like to be on Impact some. I'd like to, if I get the chance, AEW. But end of the day, WWE.
Do you have a dream match?
Oh God. Really any of the guys up there, really. I'd like to, if I had my top 3 to 5 dream matches, it's mostly, it sounds markish, but it's the guys I grew up watching. The dream matches, Austin, Taker, Triple H, just really, really those guys. If I ever build myself up to where I can, look convincing next to them, But I mean, I'm only about to turn 26 now, so I've got plenty of time to grow and learn and really get better. But I'd like to eventually get to the point where I could work guys like Ricochet and AJ and really just keep up with them in there.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan, another one.
What about AEW? Have you had a chance to watch any of Dynamite or any of their shows as of late?
I haven't really got to watch a lot of like actual shows lately. I've been keeping up with stuff on social media. That's the most I get. I'm running the weight room at a college right now, in and out of there because of the whole virus thing. But I really just don't get a lot of time outside of, my job and classes and everything going for my master's right now. But I've seen a little bit of the Dynamite stuff. I catch a little bit of Raw. I see the highlights from NXT. But other than that, I don't really get to see a lot of the stuff that's going around right now. Just the little clips of, hey, that was a cool spot, or this is a really good promo, or just the things that get posted, like this guy debuted here, this guy said this, and it really got a lot of heat, blah blah blah.
What have you thought of the kind of empty arena shows that they've kind of been doing, both with WWE and AEW?
I see people shitting on that all the time, and it's like, it's them keeping it alive for us. It's looked at as like, if the big guy shut down, like, oh shit, this is a problem. It's them out there. I mean, Cena said it best in one of his interviews. He's doing it as a rookie because he's never done it before. He's never done the, empty arena, doing a promo in front of just a camera, but acting like there's a crowd there before. Like, this is something completely different. It's awkward as hell, yeah. But, it's still them out there trying to give us what they want to give us every week. They're busting their asses. AEW's having a little bit more fun with it, and, it's getting over. But, like, it's their attempt to just keep it going when everyone else has to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And at least they are putting some content out here, right? Because right now, I mean, maybe it's the best time to capitalize on it. We don't have any sports on. There's no, music concerts going on. And if the only entertainment that really out there right now is wrestling. And so this is a great opportunity to try to captivate an audience when there's, I guess, an unfortunate opportunity right now.
Right. Everybody else is just really, pushing streams of stuff they've done, or, reruns of everything that was previously recorded. But this is one of the only things that's still, live weekly.
And so we kind of talked about what your kind of goals are, what your kind of dreams are to hopefully maybe one day go to the WWE. But for anyone that's trying to get into wrestling, what kind of advice would you give to them?
Go for it. Like, a lot of people are just really scared of, like, well, what if I get there and it's not for me? If it's not for you, it's not for you. But you don't know until you get in there, you take that first bump and all your breath is gone and you're like, oh shit, is this fight or flight? Like, am I going to do this, or, this doesn't tickle like I thought it was going to, 'cause, I mean, it hurts. There's some of us like that. I mean, I don't want to sound like an old grizzled vet or anything, but like, it takes me a good 2 to 5 minutes to stand up comfortably every day. Like, I mean, this stuff takes a toll on your body. It just depends on, what all risks you're taking in the ring too, can accentuate it or not. But, go out there, like, go to these shows, go to independent shows, support local wrestling, go out there, message promoters, try and get message schools. There's plenty of places that'll train you. Some you got to pay for, some are free, but either way, you're still going to have to work your ass off and really just bust tail and get that done. Go set up rings, tear down rings. A lot of places still do the hang poster, everything. Like, go out there and earn your way in. A lot of people I've seen people get the opportunity handed to them to train, and they completely shit the bed because they're like, oh, this is easy. I can do this. I'm a star. You've had one match. Like, I'm nobody special, but I work my ass off for everything I've gotten to this point. It's just, a lot of guys are just, like, not humble about anything. Like, not the guys that are in it, but like the people that are training. Like, I've seen it multiple different companies. Like, you got to go in there and just learn, not think you know everything. Just because you see everything on TV, you don't know shit. I don't know shit. That's why I'm there. I'm learning every week. Go in there, clear your mind, get rid of that ego, whether you, like, stand out because of your look, or because you can talk, or because, your work is better than everybody else. Humble yourself, go in there and get trained the right way too.
I think that's some stellar advice for anyone's trying to get in. I mean, I think that's true for any work environment you're going to be in. If you want something enough, bust your ass for it, no matter what you want to do. Something you brought up, I kind of wanted to hit on a little bit more. You kind of talked about kind of the aftermath of it all, the pain. You mentioned you wake up in a little bit of pain every day. And it kind of brought me back to this. Did you ever watch that Crispin Watt documentary that just came out from Vice?
Yeah, I watched both parts in the same day. I was at work at the time, crying like a little bitch.
Oh,
That was right in like my middle school years. Like, and Benoit and Eddie were my favorites at the time of the guys that were doing it at the time. Austin was kind of at the end of his run, and stuff like that. And the Ortons were coming in. That's another one I didn't mention, but yeah, like that was really emotional because like as a kid growing up, I mean, I was still a kid. I was an early, like not even a teenager yet, not even considered a teen. And that happened. It was like my 6th and 7th grade year for both of them. It was just it was heartbreaking, and I felt like I relived that. It was terrible.
yeah,
But it was done so well.
it was. And I'm also a huge Crispin Watt fan. He was probably my favorite wrestler that I grew up. Him and Eddie what got me into wrestling all those years ago as well. But with that, they kind of talked about some of the issues with CTE that he that he had because of the way he performed. And is there any worry? I mean, maybe not to that extreme like what Benoit did, but to your basic way of life, are you worried about any type of damage you're going to be taking from this endeavor of pursuing pro wrestling?
It's not ballet. It comes with the territory. You know what you're getting into. There's certain risks you can take that are going to kind of give you more risk, but you can step foot in a ring one time and injure yourself. Not even on a show, just like physically getting in the ring, you can get injured. The smallest little thing can happen. But, there's calculated risks we take each time we go out there. You've got to trust your opponent. You got to trust that you can take care of them and they can take care of you. As far as for myself, I'm going to do this until I physically cannot. If I can find some way to jerry rig a stick and some paper, as long as I can still wipe my ass somewhat functionally, I will be wrestling. Whether I make it somewhere or not, I don't care. Whether I stay at just the local independent for the rest of my life, I don't care. It's what I love to do. It's what I've wanted to do since I can remember. And obviously I know that there's certain things that I can do, certain choices I can make, moves I can take, do whatever that are gonna, heighten the possibility for injury. That's why some moves you hear about being banned or whatever, they're risky. But at the end of the day, you're out there, you're an adrenaline junkie. You're trying to get a reaction from fans, pop yourself, whatever, pop the boys on the back, whatever. You're going out there and you're performing, you're taking the risk every time you walk in there. I will do it until I physically am unable. There is nothing like it. Whether you're in front of 5 people, 500 people, if I ever get to the point where it's 5,000 people, like, you want to be out there, you want to perform. The amount of adrenaline that shoots through your body, it doesn't even hurt until after the match. There's some things in the match that, hell yeah, that's going to hurt. But, your body doesn't register the pain unless something is super messed up and goes wrong. Your body doesn't register the pain until after. I never hurt more than when I'm taking my boots off after I've wound down from a match. That is the absolute worst thing, taking your boots off.
Well, Tony, we're hoping you'll get an opportunity here in the next couple of weeks here to lace those boots up once again, though, when hopefully this pandemic's faded down and we'll be able to all get back to what we do best. I hope you get an opportunity to get back in the ring here soon as well. And I hope my listeners that have been listening here today take the opportunity to go check out you and all the pro wrestlers around Kentucky that are making a difference and an impact, for lack of better words, in our state here. But Tony, for the time being, where can my listeners follow you at?
Facebook, Tony Evans Frank. I haven't made an actual profile for Tony Evans, Superior Tony Evans. I'm a little behind on that too. Twitter, Instagram, I'm T_Frank94. All those. A lot of my stuff can be found at PTW. A lot of it can be found at, all the social media platforms / WWA is now. That's where the biggest part of my my work is going to be, is with the WWA page. Never not be thankful for them for my start and for getting me where I am. But I'm hoping I branch out and give you a lot more things the next time.
Awesome. Well, Tony, we thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully we'll get to have you on again here soon.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, and that's it for our interview with Superior Tony Evans. I want to thank Tony for coming on to our show and telling us a little bit about his professional wrestling career up to this point, and I'm excited to see where he goes from here. If you want to support Tony, go check him out on social media at Twitter and Instagram at T_Frank94. Follow him on Facebook at Tony Evans Frank. And once we get out of this pandemic, go check him out at one of the local Kentucky wrestling shows, WWA, PTW. Go buy some of his t-shirts and let him know you heard him here on Friends in the Corner podcast. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well at FITC Podcast. That's FITC Podcast. Check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/FITC Podcast. And be sure to email the show at friendsinthecorner@gmail.com. That's friendsinthecorner, altogether lowercase, at gmail.com. I want to thank you guys again for tuning in for another episode of Friends in the Corner podcast. Excited that despite the circumstances we find ourselves under today, we're able to continue to do these shows for you, and thank you for tuning into each one of them. Until next time, I want to say stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Friends in the Corner podcast. That's a wrap.